What's up, workforce? Brian here for Work to Game. I hope you're having a good day. It's super early right now, so let's talk about some macros. So many of you have requested some more help with macros, and so this is hopefully what this is, kind of a macro 101 guide, an introduction to where you go to make a macro, how, some examples of some macros for creating actions, waiting commands, emotes, setting your hotbar actions. So after you watch this guide, you should be able to take that document, take what you've hopefully learned here, and apply it to really to create the best experience for you in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, a disclaimer, action macros are a DPS loss. And the reason for that is that whenever you're using a regular action, the system uses a queuing technique. So if you press that button half a second before you're able to actually execute the action, the system will accept it and accept it as your next action, so it will automatically go and execute that. Now, it only does this once. It's not like you can press like 10 actions and they're all going to just line up. But this way, you can continually make sure that you're outputting damage or healing, etc. When you do a macro, you lose that ability, and the server has to evaluate the macro because you're putting in multiple commands. Can it do this? No, yes. Can it do this? No or yes. And because of that, again, that's just processing time. So whether it be milliseconds or even seconds, macros are going to be a DPS loss. That being said, outside of Savage, pretty much not going to feel it. It's really up to you and your party, but it's up to you what you choose to do or don't do with this power. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk some macros. Welcome everybody to my Getting Started with Macros guide. Thanks for all the suggestions, asking for something like this. So we're going to just jump into it and really cover hopefully the basics to get you going with making as many macros as you see fit. So the first things first, to get to the macro section, it's going to be under your main menu, under Systems, and under User Macros. You can easily see that I have tons of macros that I've created. So we're going to highlight several. We're going to talk about them. We'll also probably talk about some of the disadvantages of them as well. So the macro that I used when opening this video was this one. We can see several commands, in this case just various emotes, that are listed out with wait commands. You give the macro a name, and then in this case, if I'm going to do various emotes, it's just slash and then the name of the emote. What I'm doing in between is I'm putting in a wait. This is a period that tells the code to wait before going into the next command. This is important, but I would highly recommend against using wait commands when grouping up various attack actions. Alright, so let's go ahead and review some examples of some of my favorite macros in the game. Targeting macros. I find this to be very valuable and important, namely because either if you're a tank or a DPS, sometimes you just need to communicate kill X. So you can see here with my number one, I've got it set 1 targets, and I have a party command, so you can see that with /P, my new primary target, and then here within these brackets is going to include the name of the target that you're actually selecting. So it's not going to say, brackets T, it's going to say Brian, or it's going to say monster, or whatever you're actually targeting. And that's the command you'll see to use, especially when macroing any targeting out there. And then I like to have a little bit of let's bring the hurt. You can see that I say focus target on that specific target, and that's going to set my particular focus target option. Enemy sign, enemy to attack 1. I set my target back to my focus, not necessarily needed, but this will be more important in a little bit. And then I put on a sound effect so that there is an audio cue for players out there. Now, sound effect runs from 1 to 16, so I can change this at any time to be any number of sound effects. So let's say you want to mark a particular kill order. You can do so. Now, I only really use 1, 2, and 6, and 6 is actually something that's kind of a countdown more than anything else. But with 2, you can say focus target, enemy to attack 1, target back, which is going to be kind of a left target, enemy assigned to attack 2, and then it returns my focus back on the primary target. This is very handy, you know, in any group. If there's any pool that's more than one, you can always drop this out. You can always reapply it as well. So let's see what those look like. So here I can hit 1 and it's going to say, hey, it marks me with the target. If I was actually in a party, it would show up in the text chat, but you can see that I've easily marked myself with a 1. Go ahead and unmark myself. And I've also set myself to the focus target. So I'll turn that off. So we've got a couple things we can target here. And so you can see with the 2, it's marked 2 targets for me as well, but return my focus target back onto my original target that I was on. So that's just a simple targeting macro. And then lastly, number 6, which is just a countdown. It's going to set my focus target and it's going to initiate a countdown. This is great for when starting any particular battle. And show you guys that macro again. And so I like to put a little party text in there. You can choose to include this or whatever. So there's a lot of different types of macros. Here's you'll see sometimes, here's a fun one. If I execute. In the text chat, I just have this various thing. So, so this can be a lot of fun. You can play around with a lot of these style of text chat just to really kind of build out a lot of fun. So I've seen numerous ones that people use. But now that we've kind of covered the basic of things that you can build, to target, let's talk about some various actions. Here's an example of a macro for the spell arrow. For using any skill, you can see that I've got various skill images right here. You want to use the first command is macro icon and then the name of the skill. What this does for you is it sets the macro icon to that skill, but whenever you use it, it's going to show its cooldown. It's going to show the GDC that's on it, just like any skill listed here. You also see that what I've done is I've included 4 abilities stacking 2 each. So first you have Fluid Aura, TT, and then Fluid Aura T, Arrow TT, and Arrow T. This uses a fail through method, so Fluid Aura has a cooldown, and if it's available, it will be used. If not, it will fail down to the next. What the command TT will give you is it's the target of my target. So as a healer who has Arrow, most likely I'm going to be targeting one of the tanks. I can still use this ability, and it's going to first try to target my target's target. So if the tank is targeting the boss, this is going to be executed on the boss if it can. If it can't, it will fall through. So if your target's target is another player, it's going to fail, so it will fall through to your target as well. So if you're targeting the boss, you can't cast arrow on the tank, which is most likely where the boss is going to be focused. So what it's going to do is it's going to fail, and then it's going to just use it on your target. And if your target, in this case, if this ability is not ready, it's going to fail, and then it's going to go to the next. In this case, arrow, target of the target, and then target. Now, like I said in the intro, using macros, there is a DPS loss because you're not going to be able to queue these abilities because they're being used as a macro, as well as you can see that there's some logic the system has to apply. So whether it's milliseconds or anything, that can still take up time. So please remember to use macros sparingly. So here's just an example of one. Let's look at another one. So here's a heal me up macro. I'm macroing Bloodbath, so I'm going to see the cooldown of Bloodbath after I use the ability. Then you can see for any of your abilities, you want to preface it with AC. Now, you don't need to actually put your ability in quotes if it's one word, but I'd recommend just getting into the practice of it because it's just easier to manage that way. You can see that I use the targeting me, which I'm going to use this ability on me. Most likely you don't need to use that all the time, but it's an example of another way of targeting. So all of these abilities are on their own cooldown, so it's going to fail through. However, if I wanted to use all of these abilities, because there is no wait command, I would have to press this button, the macro button, 3 times. So if the first time I press it, it would use Convalence if available. The second time, it would use Bloodbath if available. The third time, Thrill of Battle if available. Here's an example of my Dark Knight pretty much opener. Macroing, macro icon, /, AC Mercy Stroke if available, / if available, plunge if available, unmend if available. So what this means is that typically it's going to use / because you're in range. Mercy Stroke is only available if the target's HP is below 20%. So most likely this is going to use /. However, if you're not within range of /, it will attempt to use plunge, and if plunge is not off its cooldown, it will use unmend, which is always available. So it's just that way of playing with that range versus that up close. So if the target goes out of range, you have one button that's going to use to manage all of that. It's going to be up to you what you decide to stack in all your abilities. But there you go. So managing what hotbar you're on, this can be used for cross hotbar and hotbar. You can easily see this as a macro example for cleric stance. So I've got 2 cleric stances, and what they do, the difference is this cross hotbar change from 4 or to 1. So you can go check out my controller guides for specific examples of how this is executed, but you can see here you could have it as hotbar or C hotbar change, and what that's going to do is it's going to set your active bar to that particular number. So let's talk about a little bit more complex macros. So this is a macro that combines an action as well as updating your hotbar, your cross hotbar, with various abilities. So depending on, as a summoner, what I want to summon, whether it be Ifrit, Titan, or Garuda, I have these actions. So first it's going to summon, it's going to cast the ability. Then what I'm going to do on my cross hotbar is I'm going to set the layout of the actions and put them on the specific bar. Now I covered that in a very specific video, but I want to highlight it here again right now. So let me go ahead and make summon Ifrit. You can see that I've got Titan abilities listed on both my hotbar and cross hotbar. But if I summon Ifrit, you can see that it's going to update all my actions both on my hotbar and my cross hotbar. This allows for a lot of flexibility. You can do this for any actions that you deem fit. So for there, I'm using pet abilities and having the macros set them on the bar, but you can set any ability that you want to any position. So for some reason, if you want to rearrange how your cross hotbar or hotbar looks, just look no further than this is an example. So here's an example where if you're running a lot of sync content and you don't know if your higher level ability is going to be available, you can always stack that same ability with the various, you can always choose to stack them. Now, in this case, if arrow 3 is not available, it will use arrow 2. If arrow 2 is not available, it will use arrow 1. So it's always going to use your highest level ability. Since all 3 of these abilities have their own effects, I would not recommend stacking those abilities, but stone can be another example. So stone 3, stone 2, stone 1. It's going to use your highest level stone spell that's available for you. So no matter where you go, if your level sink below having stone 2, you're not going to have to realign all your action bars just to get that going for you. So there's another value of macros. Lastly, before I sign off, I do want to make a note. If anybody's playing around with ground targeting abilities, you now have the ability to macro those so that it will automatically execute on the target that you have selected. To do that, you just need to call the ability like you would and then have it with the T target. This will put it at the feet of the target that is currently selected. Do note though, if that target is moving, it's going to use their position at the time that you called the command. And it's not going to stick with them, and it's not going to end up where they end up. So you very well could end up having your salted earth somewhere out in the middle of nowhere where it's not adding any value to you. Well, I hope some part of this has been a help. please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. And if you need any help with any particular macro, just let me know. I'd love to be able to try to help if I can. But for Work to Game, my name's Brian, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Hey, it's me. Thanks so much for watching this video. You should click here to subscribe and here to maybe check out some more of our videos. So again, thanks for watching. We hope you like this video. We hope you subscribe and join our community. Let us know in the comments below what you think, and we'll see you next time.